was like 5 or 6 years ago. I had to get a vocal cord surgery because I used to sing in a band. Actually, I used to scream in a band. It's a hardcore band. I was I wanted to be just like Ray Cappo, Raghunath Cappo. We've talked about him before. And this is when I was a teenager and in college. And then, I destroyed my vocal cords. My poor vocal cords were just ruined because I didn't know how to sing properly. And then, DJing, you're always on the mic and you're just hyping the crowd. So I grew these like polypoids in the vocal cords, and they're creating permanent damage. And the doctor was like, we got to go in. We got to slice these things off your vocal cords, which means you have to be silent for a month. I mean, you can't talk at all. So, and they were in bad shape. So I had 2 weeks before surgery and 2 weeks after. So even before this period of time, I was terrified. Terrified. I mean, imagine not talking for a day, and then someone tells you can't talk for a month. Like, not talking for a day is, not talking for a few hours during the day is weird. But it just, I had to go. I had to see like a therapist. Like, I was really, really mentally afraid, paranoid. And so I kind of prepped myself, and I saw some people. Then I was like, okay, we got to do it. I don't have a choice. So during that time, I wanted to learn a couple things. And when you're not talking and all you're doing is listening, the world changes a lot mentally. And like, you have to think a lot about before you even, because I have this app on my phone where you text you text and it talks for you, text to talk. And when you listen more and you're quiet more, and you just end up becoming more calmer, you think a lot more about what you're about to say. You're not so jumpy, you're not so impulsive. And during that time, like, well, one thing I really, really want to learn is meditation, because I feel like I did it a few times here and there, but I really want to learn it. So it was a perfect opportunity for me to meditate, and then it was a perfect opportunity for me to learn. But then after about a couple of weeks, I started feeling calmer. I started thinking about everything around me differently. I wouldn't have bursts of anxiety, bursts of panic, and there's times where I get like that, or I get impulsive about things, and I'm very much tied to my emotions, and I think in many ways it's helped my career, and in many ways it's not helped me personally. Because music is all about driving your emotions. That's one of my strengths, is like when I'm in the studio, I need to feel what I'm making. I need to feel it. If I don't feel it, if that urge isn't pulling out of me, and I'm like, all right, we finally got the hook. We finally got the melody. This thing is just like lifting me up. So I'm like, for me, as in my career state of mind, I'm like jumping into my emotions and like grabbing them and letting them like take me on a journey. And if you do that, like Radhanath Swami was talking about, in life, you're very vulnerable. You follow your emotions, you're very vulnerable. And what this taught me, the meditation and the time to listen more, and not having to like crowd the conversation with what your thoughts are, has really allowed me to be more balanced, so I could still be creatively emotional, but when I'm on the human, outside the studio, on the human levels of things, it's just made my life a lot more, just more peaceful, more mindful, more present, and gotten me out of like situations where it was a bit sticky. I was like, oh, I would have gotten an argument here, or like, gotten to some situation here, but You don't have to go there.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Stephen. And
Yeah.
actually, I wanted to then ask Radhanath Swami on this same thing, over the last 50 years on this point of the benefits of meditation. You've been practicing mantra meditation yourself, as you mentioned, from the Bhakti Yoga tradition, and you've taught millions of people this meditation practice as well. So, on a personal note, what are the benefits you've seen in your life of practicing daily this mantra meditation, and also seeing the lives of those around you from practicing this meditation be changed as well?
Well, the idea of yoga is harmony. And really, the idea of spirituality, religion, is discovering harmony. The body, the mind, the heart with the soul, harmony with God, with all other people, all living beings, and with nature. And this meditation, mantra meditation, is a way of connecting to that harmony that's within us, wherein we see the world not as something to exploit, but we see the world as sacred and something to honor and to replenish. We take from Mother Nature, and we naturally want to replenish with Mother Nature. And in the same way, with all humanity, with all its varieties, with all species of life, we honor that life is sacred, and to respect, to honor, and ultimately to love the sacredness of life. When we, to the degree we begin to love the sacredness of life that's within ourself, then we can recognize that sacredness of life in all beings, and we can be an instrument of that love. And that's the idea of meditation, according to that school that I'm following, Bhakti, that the origin of all love is God, who has many names, that supreme source of everything, that supreme energy that's pervading everything, that most beautiful, loving person. That love is the source of all love. And when our soul connects to that love, then we could be an instrument of that love in whatever we do. And in today's world, there's so much hatred, there's so much arrogance, there's so much discrimination against, people who look different, people who think different, what to speak of different species of life. But when we understand, my own life-living nature, then we can recognize that inherently that life-living nature is in all beings, and how truly we all are brothers and sisters. And that's not an imagination, that's a truth. And to the degree we disconnect from that truth that's within us, to that degree, we become an instrument of causing so much division and problems in the world, and creating such vulnerability and anxiety in ourselves and others. It's like the idea of ecology. If internally we clean our own ecology, then we will be instruments to actually clean the ecology around us. But if we're covered with arrogance and greed and anger and hatred and all these other things, then then we affect other people and we affect the world like that. So it's what I've seen through this mantra is it reconnects us to that love, which is the pleasure that we're all seeking. And then we have something beautiful to give to the world in whatever we may be doing, whatever our occupation may be doing. We become motivated by that love. And when love is expressed, it takes the form of compassion. That compassion is the greatest need of the world. And and living with that compassion is so healing to our own life, and it's so meaningful. It gives us so much purpose. And I've seen people who have been, on their deathbeds and completely joyful despite all the pains of their body, because they're connected to that love. And I've personally found such a beautiful, wonderful meaning and purpose in my life, through connecting to that truth, to that love, to that peace that's within.